Okay, so one more time, thank you everybody for attending. Today we're going to be covering a basic overview of the features of Aristotle 360. There will be a future training regarding specific financial information, and an email notification for that will be sent out. But today we're going to cover basics, account setups, data entry, some list management, and search functions. So I'm going to start by logging in. And most people will be familiar with the login process. The first time you log into 360, you are presented with a few choices about how your display is set up. And at the beginning of this presentation, we will cover how to change those after the initial login. So when you first log in, you're presented with the landing page of your choice. And this is either going to be the home page or the dashboard. The home page presents you with some basic choices of where to start for data entry and different functions within 360. You also get notifications of your pending activities, and these are assigned to your username. So you see what you have to do today. Just as an example, I've entered a outgoing phone call to Superman to invite him to attend our webinar. So that's notifying me here that my username support agent has a pending task with the receiver, Superman. The alternate landing page is the dashboard, and this is designed to give you a comprehensive overview of your campaign finances and some upcoming deadlines in other areas. So, were you to choose your dashboard as your landing page, you would be presented with the following page. We'll just give it a second to load. And as the splash there tells you, the dashboard is designed to give you a 360-degree view of your political activities. And this includes a number of charts of basic financial data. We have receipts by period, and you can change the date range up to 2 years by clicking on this box. You're also given an overview of other operating financial activity. And in this case, I'm using a sample database, so it's not particularly populated. But you can see that the basic overview is here. Different financial activities. These are also clickable, so if you wanted to see specifics for, say, November, you can click on this column, and you can get a more detailed breakout of those activities. At the bottom, there's some further summary information. Counts for the basic records in your database, and I did click on that column, so we're going to get to see some more detailed activity for the month of November. And these are just some different entries that we entered to populate those graphs. On the left-hand side of the dashboard, you have information regarding upcoming filing deadlines. It's a useful place to check. You, of course, always have to correlate this with your reporting authority to make sure that nothing has been missed. And you can also see recently modified records. The quick entry and quick search box are available almost everywhere within 360. However, system messages are really only shown on start pages like the dashboard and home page. Now, as I mentioned, when you first log into 360, you are given the choice of whether you want to use the dashboard or the home page as your landing page. However, oftentimes, depending on what you're currently working on, you might change which one you want to land on. And that can be altered under Settings and My User Settings. That's actually under Settings and Add Edit Users. It can be set on a per user basis. So here we have the landing page. You can choose between the home page and the dashboard. On the topic of users, if you wanted to add a new user and control access permissions within 360, you can go to the Settings menu and that same page, Add Edit Users. From the Add Edit Users page, you can change the permission groups of existing users. You can alter theirs or your contact information, and you can also create a new user and set permissions for that user. So here are the existing users within this database, and to the top right is the New User button. You can also remove user accounts with the red X's to the right of each username. Required fields are indicated by an asterisk, and the password field you need to confirm twice. Once you've created a new user, you can determine their permission settings either from going back to the original user's account under Add Edit Users or from the permissions page under Settings. So to change permissions, you would go to Settings and User Permissions. The permissions in 360 are managed by permission groups. So there's basically two steps to giving any given user permissions. First, to determine a permission group and create it if necessary, and you set the permissions for that group. Then you assign the user to that particular group. So in this case, there's pre-configured groups for staff members, general readers, which are generally no data entry or editing, full access, which allows the creation of new accounts, and data entry. You can also add a new group by entering a name for the permission group here and choosing Add New. To change the users or the permissions to any given group, you can simply click on the name under Group Name. There's a number of checkboxes, and these are from left to right, providing greater and greater access. So if you were to check only the leftmost checkbox in each of the settings, users would have the ability to view but not to edit, create, or remove any of these entries. As you move to the right, users have the ability to edit existing entries, add new entries, and finally delete existing entries. The various permission groups are fairly straightforward. I will point out that there's householding here and also locked transactions. And those are particularly special permission groups. One, because householding is often used, and the householding option will not appear without the permission set. And second, locked transactions are for editing historic transactions that would alter your reports. So it's an important permission setting to have an eye on, either enabled or disabled. If you want to be able to edit transactions on historic reports, you do need to enable it. And it's a good idea to be careful on who you allow to edit those transactions. Once you've set your permissions correctly, you can assign different users to that group. As you can see in this database, everybody's a full user. But if there was a user in the database who was not currently assigned to this group, he would be available here and on the left. And you can use the arrows to the right and left to move one user from the right to left or vice versa. One other item under under permission groups is to alter the home page of that permission group. And this changes which icons are available on that initial landing page. I'll go ahead and show that here because I'm not sure if that was particularly clear. So, those home page icons correspond to these boxes here of quick items to move to in 360. Concerning the basic layout of 360, the core features of the program are all available from this navigation bar at the top. You've got your home and dashboard available. You also have file creation tabs, so you can create or sort into batches various different entities, including your basic individuals, organizations, and legislators, and then also financial transactions, including receipts and disbursements. Next on the menu is the search area. And this tab contains not only searches, but also basic list management features, since lists more or less represent existing searches. The Activities tab allows you to change calendar activities including pending phone calls and other correspondences. You can also create activity campaigns to sort those items into, and also to track basic financial information for a particular campaign. You could manage events such as fundraiser dinners or other campaign-related or other events here. You can set them onto the calendar, and you can also create an RSVP list of users or individuals who are planning on attending. There are various different system reports available from this menu, in addition to your government compliance reports for various different reporting authorities. We already took a quick look at some of the options available under settings. It's worth noting that you can also change your filing committee settings and some basic account settings that are specific to the database. So we'll actually take a look at a few of those. Finally, in the navigation bar to the far right are a logout option for clearing your browser session, and also a help menu which contains some documentation and other also means of contacting our support department. So, account settings contains basic information for your organization, including setting the master address to be used. You can set whether you want to use dynamic duplicate checking while you enter individuals, and were you to check this box, you could choose the criteria by which duplicates are checked. And what that does is if you enter a new individual, these searches are done against the existing databases to make sure you're not creating two of the same individual. So that covers a basic overview of the layout and some of the landing features of 360. The next area we're going to move to is entering new information, such as individuals, organizations, or committees. There are multiple different methods of entering these individuals. The fastest, and the one that's used most often when moving through a list of entries, is quick entry. The other option are the various specific entries available under the File menu. Quick entry can be used not only to enter new individuals, but also to enter various different transactions onto existing individuals. The basic layout is the same for individuals, organizations, and committees. You move from the top of the page downwards, beginning by searching for existing individuals to make sure you're not creating duplicates. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and search for Adam Smith, a nice historical figure. You begin by clicking the search button to determine whether this individual already exists. And as you can see, Adam Smith is an existing representative in our database. Were we to search for an individual who doesn't exist, for example, we'll search for Adam Smith II, simply as an example. You'll receive an error message, or not really an error message, but just a warning saying, well, I'm unable to find the individual. However, after running this search, you can save a new individual, and you can fill out these fields here. This is the basic contact information, and it's provided here for quick entry. If you need to enter more detailed information, you can go to the File menu, and we'll cover that next. We're going to go ahead and create an Adam Smith individual so that we can demonstrate entering a receipt for him. So, Adam Smith is selected at the top. Now we can move further down the page to the Receipts area. In Receipts, you can set your basic information, including the amount and a check number. You can also associate these receipts with a batch. Once you've entered this information, you can click Submit, and a new entry will be made. And the fields are reset so that you can move on to a new individual. As I mentioned before, you can do this for organizations and committees from the same page. You can also enter disbursements or add users to a group or as attendees to an event. To see the full information for individual entry, you would go to File and Create New Individual. From this individual page, you have basic fields you can fill out for contact information. One field to note is the source ID field, which in most databases is automatically generated as a means of creating a unique tracking number for individuals. By contacting Aristotle, you can have these fields be set to be manually generated in case you want to use employee numbers or a particular criteria for creating source IDs of your own. Underneath the basic contact information are the various different address fields, and these fields are expandable by selecting between them. You can see there are home addresses, mail addresses, vacation addresses, and work addresses. After filling out an address, I'm going to create some information here. You can choose whether you want to create that address as a primary or as an address not to be used for contact. At least one address must be marked as primary, and since I only have one address, you'll see if I try to remove the primary, I'm denied. If I were to create another address, further down our imaginary street, I could mark this address as primary, and then I would be able to remove the primary address from home. In addition to the address fields, there's basic contact information for electronic contacts, such as different social networking sites, and email, in addition to phone and fax. Under additional details, there's the ability to enter basic demographic information for an individual, such as their political affiliation, and as you can see here, there are some other fields, including birth date and registration date as well. For particular individuals, you may want to upload a photo to store in your database, either for identifying those individuals or just as a neat way to individuate different transactions. So we're going to go ahead and generate ourselves another historic individual, complete with a portrait. At the top of most of the data entry pages, there are similar options. Starting from the left, there's a print option, a save option, a save and close option, and a cancel option, which allows you to escape a record without saving. And it looks like that photo didn't upload because I hadn't saved first. Once you've saved an individual record, a number of new fields will appear below additional details. Actually, they'll appear between basic information and additional details. And those fields are for items such as financial transactions. So we're going to go ahead and save, and we'll take a look at those real quick. So as you can see, after saving an individual, a number of new areas appear. We have activities to represent communications, pending or historic, to this individual. There is a receipts field, as well as a disbursement field for financial transactions. And we'll take a look at those in just a minute. There's also a notes field for keeping internal memos regarding this individual, a campaigns field to see which activity campaigns this is associated with, a groups field to see whether you've assigned this individual to a particular group, and some basic district information and any custom fields generated by your campaign. I really want that portrait to load. It might be too large of an image. There will be another webinar regarding detailed financial transactions, but for now, I'm going to go ahead and show the receipts field. And there we go, we have our portrait. By expanding the Receipts tab, you can see existing receipts from this individual. You can also create a new receipt using the button in the bottom right. The initial entry here is much like quick entry. It's a basic entry that is missing particular fields that are not necessary as frequently. However, if you do need to use detailed fields, there's this additional details box here, which will bring up a new window. In additional details, you can do much more detailed data entry, including marking support or opposition for candidates and choosing whether or not this transaction will be forced to itemize on your reports. One thing to note is that after you've saved a transaction, much like individuals, you'll be given a new set of fields that are particular to this transaction. You can see that since I've saved this, I can set a receipt code, link to a historic transaction, or view the history of amendments to this particular transaction. One other item worthy of note is a credit card processing feature. By entering a receipt to a particular individual and using the icon that will appear in the upper left, you can actually process credit card transactions through Aristotle 360 if you're configured to do so. That item is here in the upper left, process credit card. As you can see, when we're in an individual record, our items to the left and right have changed. We've got related reports to this individual to the left, and to the right we have some basic record functions, as well as householding information and a financial summary for this individual. The householding field is particularly useful since it allows you to consolidate your mailers to a smaller number. When you add an individual to the household, their address information should be populated as this is relevant. And I forgot to save once again when I entered that before. So now that Abraham Lincoln has a primary address, we can go ahead and search. And from searching, you will either see that the household exists or does not exist, and you can choose to create or add create a new household or add an existing individual to an existing household. Sorry about that. I happen to know there's a Smith household, so I'm going to go ahead and search for that one. And you can see, if this isn't the Smith household I'm looking for, I can use the create icon in the bottom left to make a new household. However, let's say that he is supposed to be part of this household. We can open the household here, and we can link a new individual by entering oops. You can also create a new individual within the household. And you can see I'm presented with various different Abrahams, including our Abraham we had here. Once you add an individual to a household, you can choose to specify the relationship. In this case, Abraham Lincoln's going to be a roommate. And from there, you can save and close. As you can see, after updating this information, Abraham Lincoln's household information is populated in his individual record. Once you've created an individual, you'll probably want to know how to search for them. The fastest way to search for any individual is from the quick search box. And we can see, simply by typing into this field, I'm presented with a list of different options. In this case, Abraham Lincoln. One item to note in the quick search is that the type of entity is represented by the icon to the left. Individuals are shown as a person with a blue shirt. Legislators are represented, that's actually a committee, as an individual with a black shirt. Committees are shown as a briefcase, and organizations are represented by a building. From Quick Search, you can choose to open an individual record, or if your result isn't shown, you can jump to the full search. Another search option available are the various basic searches viewable from the search menu. In this case, we could jump to a basic search for individuals. You can also search for individuals by various other fields, and these fields are applicable to different searches as well. One thing to note is that the kinds of results you're given are based on the search you do. If you do an individual search by receipt, you're still presented with a list of individuals. So if we were to search for entries within the last month, we'll be given a list of individuals who have disbursements or receipts within this range. I search by receipts. However, if we were to do a search for receipts, the resulting list would be a list of transactions rather than individuals. As you can see, even though individual names are pulled to this is a list of transactions, meaning we can get double transactions for a single entity. There are a number of different basic searches, and they're helpful for building lists based on a particular criteria. However, if you want to find a list of individuals or entities based on more than one criteria, advanced search is the place to look. Advanced search gives you the ability to build a search based on most of the fields available under basic search. To do this, you would switch between the tabs on the left-hand side, represented by these icons with their names to the right. So, for example, if I wanted to find a list of individuals in a particular state who also had particular financial transactions, I would use Advanced Search and those two tabs. From Advanced Search, I can choose to use basic transaction amounts, which would be a single transaction of an amount, or an aggregate amount, which would be all the transactions within the specified date period. We'll go ahead and do a sample search to find the transactions I entered to populate the dashboard. By using the calendar icons to the right of each of these fields, I'm quickly able to select a particular date range. I can also use the R icon to reset that field. And in fact, I thought that was reset, but it appears it allows us to jump to quick ranges. You can specify a particular count to show the maximum number of individuals you want to return on this list. So, one thing to note is that while using advanced search, you can see which fields have areas filled out in them by the highlighting on the left. So as you can see, we're searching in individuals and by receipts. Now in this case, we haven't actually specified anything individuals, so we'll also return organizations, legislators, and committees. Let's go ahead and run the search. After running the search, you're presented with a results list. At the bottom of the page, you have a summary of the list, including the number of records selected and some basic saving options. You can also view details of this list and sort by them. For example, by clicking on State, I can rearrange this list according to the particular states of these individuals. If I wanted to see more than a single transaction for an individual, I could switch to the Detailed Transactions view. And it looks like none of these individuals have multiple transactions. If I wanted to jump to a particular record, I can choose the View option to the left of each individual. Now, once you've selected a list of individuals and you want to save it, you have two different options. At the bottom, you can choose to save either a criteria or a list. We're going to go over the criteria first. Criteria are basically saved advanced searches. They can be run again, and they're not static in the individuals they select. So, for example, if I choose to select everybody who's given over $10 and I save it as criteria, if new individuals have given $10 next week, those individuals will be added when I rerun that search. We'll go ahead and save this search as a criteria, and we can run it again. After entering a name and an optional description, I'm going to use the button to the right. So my criteria has been saved. If I navigate to a different area of the page, for example, back to Adam Smith's record, we're going to go to the dashboard. I can return to the same search results by going to Search, Advanced Search, and loading my saved criteria. At the bottom left of the search entities, there's a Load Criteria page. And as we can see, the criteria I just saved a moment ago is available here. I can view the criteria, and I can also jump to running that search again. As you can see, here's the same records. To demonstrate the difference between a list and a criteria, let's go ahead and add a new individual and enter a receipt under their record. So now we have a new record who meets the criteria of our search. If we return to advanced search and run that query again, he should pull to our list. As you can see, our new individual is listed with the other individuals shown on this list. This demonstrates the dynamic nature of a query. Lists, on the other hand, allow you to save a static selection of individuals from a particular search in time. So, if we save this list, as a list, and we're to go and create another new individual and run the query again, and look at that list, that individual would not be on that list because they didn't meet the criteria at the time we saved the list. Once you've saved a list, you can view and modify it from the Search List Manager field. As you can see, our demonstration list is available at the top. By clicking on the blue name of the list, you can see a summary of that list, in this case showing us that 11 individuals are entered into it, and the date it was created on. You can also modify the name from here, as well as the description, and save changes. If you want to remove a list, you can use the red X to the far right under the Delete column. To view a list, you choose the Excel sheet with the lightning bolt over it, and you'll be given the option to open the list using a particular filter. One thing to be aware of is that choosing the All filter will present only export options, should you choose to export, that are available under both individuals, legislators, organizations, and committees. That's pretty restrictive, since not very many fields are in common with those, so I recommend using one of these other fields to open lists. In this case, since we only have individuals on the list, we'll use individual to open it. As you can see, the list view is very similar to our results view from the search. The exception is that we have new fields to the right under list functions. One of the more useful fields under list functions is the ability to add and edit fields and calculations. This allows you to alter what information is presented with these list individuals. In particular, we can enter calculated fields that are dynamically generated from that individual's data. For example, we could choose total receipts and move it to the right-hand side to include in our list. Once we apply this field, you'll see that we're given a new column showing the total receipts for these individuals. To the right, there's a new field allowing us to choose the dates for start and end periods on those totals. So if we exclude everybody from this date range, you'll see that our new field excludes almost all the transactions since I chose to view only total receipts for today's date. If we change this field again, we can see all of our results again. Other list options include the ability to save a list as a new list, add results to another existing list, add results to an existing group, or merge with selected records, and that's using the checkboxes to the left. Finally, we can export the results of our list. And one thing to note is that the fields we added in using our add edit fields and calculations are carried over to our export lists. So as you can see, our total receipts are here, and our date ranges are still set for this export. When you export a list, you can choose between different formats, and for large lists, you can also choose to receive a notification after the export is complete. For lists of anything under, I would say, 20,000 individuals, it's not really necessary. They could generate pretty quickly. Once again, to the left, we have different fields we can choose to include in our list. And these fields are sorted under major headings. To add a particular field, we can select it from the left and choose the arrow to the right to move it over to the field. As you can see, there are calculated fields available in the export screen itself. However, in this screen, you're not given the option to choose the date ranges that you want to export. So if you want to set those date ranges, you must do it in the list view. After selecting our export fields, we can choose the Export Records button. Once your list is generated, you can see that a download link appears below. And you can download and open this field, this export. The export option under List Manager allows you to export fields that are related to each individual. However, if you want to export a list with data specific to each transaction, you would use the financial report for transactions. That's available under Reporting, Financial Reports, and at the bottom of the list is Transactions. As you can see, in the transaction report, you can choose to list out either receipts or disbursements, and you can specify a particular type. You can also do an open-ended transaction report by using the checkboxes next to individual, organization, and committee. In this case, however, we want to export our list. By selecting the list field, I get a search box from which I can choose to do an open-ended search. Here's our new name that I set under List Manager for this list. So by selecting it, I choose to export only the individuals on this list. I can set a new start date and end date. And I can also set statement dates for bank information. You can specify other fields here, as well as choosing the export format. In this case, I think we'll export to a CSV. The reporting types determine whether transactions will be rolled into a single summary transaction or a detail of each particular transaction. By running our report, I receive a pop-up that my report is generating, and in just a moment, a download link. As you can see, this report is broken out by particular transactions rather than one entry for each individual. With Save Lists, we can also choose to do some basic data manipulation. These fields are available under List Processing. As you can see, in list processing, we can choose to take two lists and interface them with one another using either join, difference, or intersection. For me, the picture is particularly helpful since it shows me which list will be affecting the other list and how. In this case, joining the two lists will give me every result that appears on either list. Taking the difference will remove the items in list B from list A, and taking an intersection will give me only items that appear on both lists. Since we happen to add a new individual since I ran the search this morning, let's go ahead and take our list and choose only the intersections with the previous list. As you can see from the picture, I'm taking only entities that exist on both List A, the list we ran during this demo, and List B, a list that I generated earlier this morning. Once you've selected your lists to combine, you can choose the name for the new list as well as the description, the same options that are available under Quick Search when we generated our list. Keep in mind that you don't need to fill out the list description in any of these fields. As you can see, our lists have been processed, and we can choose to view the new members. Notice that our new individual is not present because he wasn't in the system this morning when I saved the list that I used to combine. Another way of generating lists is to save them from a basic search. In this case, we're going to search for all individuals with the last name Smith. As you can see, we've got a results window similar to the advanced search, and we can either export the results directly from here or save the results to a new list. You can also add and edit fields, just like the list manager. So, to recap, today we've gone over the landing pages, what information they provide, and how to choose which page you land on. We've also covered basic information entry using Quick Search or the new record page. We've gone over different record types, different means of searching, and different functions we can do with lists. I hope this has been a helpful seminar, and that many of you will be able to attend our financial seminar, which will take place in the future. Thank you for attending, and I think that's it.